Hi, this is Ruth Theresa with One Inspiring Woman, and I am so excited to be with you because we've got a lot of planetary things that are kind of coming up right before we hit December. So we're going to be talking about those and which ones are really affecting us. I started on YouTube just a couple of minutes early because YouTube sometimes gives me a little bit of issues. So I'm going to click on live and we're going to start on TikTok as well. So I'm super excited about that. Plus, as well, if you are joining us, ask an angel question. Hi, this is Ruth Teresa with One Inspiring Woman, and today I'm live on two different platforms. I'm live on YouTube and on TikTok. I know my voice sounds kind of really bad no matter where we're at. I will tell you this one's kind of an interesting one. If you have a question, you could just ask a question or ask for an angel card reading. If you're asking a question, make sure that it's a clear question. So we're going to be talking about the planetary energies that are kind of affecting a lot of people right now. Now, I've spent the last like 2 or 3 days. I know my voice is bad, sorry, but I will say the last 2 or 3 days, almost like in this state of like really like sad, a little angry, a little working on stuff all at the same time. And I know that there's a lot of other people that are feeling this as well. If I'm feeling it, you're going to be feeling it. If you don't feel it now, you're going to be feeling it in a few days. You'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed. I get it. I totally get it. There's a lot of planetary energies that are affecting us. Hi, Miss Sherry. I have been feeling, like I said, the last 3 or 4 days, I've really been feeling a lot of energy, and a lot of people have asked me, reached out and asked me that, like, what planets are affecting us. So that's one of the things I wanted to do was just kind of do Thursday Night Live. I apologize. I've been out of pocket. Literally, this is the best voice I've had in about 2.5 weeks. So this is like, yes. So if you have an angel question, you can ask me and I will pull an angel card for you, or you can ask for an angel card itself if you wanted to do that. But let's talk a little bit about planetary energies and how is it affecting us. Now, number one, I will say is Mars in the sign of Sagittarius is really affecting a lot of people. Now, one of the things about Mars is our planet of action. So a lot of people are feeling like this increased drive. I want to do this. My ambition is amping up, that sort of thing, which kind of feels like a little bit off because this is usually the time of year that we kind of start slowing things down for the end of the year. This is where we're kind of start wrapping up the end of the stuff. I know it's still um, um, in the beginning of December, but a lot of people are like, I've got office parties, I've got holiday parties, I got this going on. But it's kind of like we start that kind of like slippery slope of like we're getting ready for the end of the year. But all of a sudden, Mars kind of steps in Sagittarius and starts amping up our drive of like, I want to do this, I want to go here, I want to finish this, I want to take care of this. And it's not necessarily a bad thing in any way. It just may feel a little bit off, like, why do I want to do this? Normally by now I'm like ducking out of meetings, or I want to go do this, or I want to go do that, family events, like I said, holiday parties, all kinds of crazy stuff that we'd rather be doing than dealing with what's going on right in front of us. And that is because Mars is affecting us in a lot of ways. Now, Mars can also be one of those energies that really kind of add a lot of impulsive energy, that impulse drive. And I have seen this for myself as well. I have picked up stuff at the store, the grocery store, other places, like, why in the heck am I buying? I literally have picked up things and gone like, why am I buying this? And I can't help but to put it down and pay for it. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? That's that Mars energy of just like be impulsive, do something like impatient, or kind of like, I don't want to do this, or kind of like this lack of planning. Literally, I was with a friend today and her anniversary is today. She's known about this for like a year, but she was like at my house and she was like, I don't even have an anniversary card for my husband. We're going to go out and do this. They're going to have a great evening. But she was like, I don't even have an anniversary card. I was like, that's Mars. That's the stuff of like, I'd rather do this. I'd rather do the fun stuff. Rather be in action. I'd rather be dealing with this instead of the, I have to go to the store and buy this or any kind of thing. Yeah. And even if you're at the store, you may go, well, I don't feel like taking action right now. I want to put it off and see if I find something better. And that's also that Mars energy. Now, one of the things that I feel like a lot of people are kind of getting caught up in is Mars is also about confrontational communication. So it's kind of one of those like, being very blunt, being very assertive, speaking your truth. And sometimes that truth can be a little zing on it. I had a client the other day that I was talking to, and tomorrow she has a big meeting with her boss. And I was like, call in sick, don't do it, don't. And she was like, why? And I said, because you're already has Mars in a very strong house for her. But I was like, she's already very truthful speaking. Um, very like truthful. I want to say it this way. I want to tell you that you're not doing this right or doing that right. That assertive energy. Sherry's saying the same thing on YouTube. It's like, yeah, it's one of those. So this would have been a day like this week would have been like, let's put that off a little bit. So it's one of those. It's really hard because a lot of companies are getting to those end of the year reviews, kind of last minute kind of stuff. So it's kind of like, what is going on? Yeah, that's kind of the crazy energy that's going on. And this is kind of really pushing us to kind of like change some things. Now, one of the things I will say is when Mars is in, especially in retrograde, one of the things that you really need to be understanding is think before you act. Literally pull yourself aside, like, before I jump in with both feet and make a decision, before I do this, I'm going to take a moment, ground myself, and that can literally just take a few breaths of like just standing there in a solid stand and just take a few breaths and then decide what I'm going to do. And when I do that, I change everything. The other one for Mars, I will say, is kind of changing how you're talking about things. I'm not saying lie. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying it's more of like, how are you delivering this information? Because sometimes people can say things and it's like, yeah, you're saying the truth. I'm not doubting you're saying the truth, but that can be a little, you know what I'm saying? We can say it a little bit nicer. So maybe we need to upgrade or change our words or modify a few things that will bring this into like, yes, let's do this a little bit differently. So I just tell you, this is one of those like, yeah, let's change or modify how we're dealing with things. Now, the one that's really, really, really affecting us a lot and will continue to affect us is Neptune. This is the weepy crying one. This is the one why you've been like, I don't like feel like I'm missing out on something. I feel like I'm overwhelmed with something. I feel like I'm missing a message with something. That's all Neptune's energy. That is Neptune, straight up Neptune energy. Now, on December 7th, so on Saturday, um, Neptune goes direct station. It doesn't mean it's out of retrograde. It just means it's finished with its retrograde cycle and now it's going to start getting easier and lighter. But a lot of times, like we've been getting dreams and messages in our dreams, we should be doing this and taking care of this and doing this and doing that. All of those things. We've all been kind of getting those messages. But because we only have a couple of days left, it's kind of like, did I get all the messages? Have I checked the message light one more time? Have I gotten this? Have I really, really been able to bring all this energy around? Have I really spoken what I really needed to say? Did I really get this? So I will say this is a very important one. This is the one where it kind of shifts our intuition. And a lot of time our intuition can be a little crazy at this point because it's like we only have so many hours, literally like 72 hours or 48 hours left of this energy. And our angels and guides are going like, did you get that message? Do you have the message? Do you know what you're supposed to be doing next? And we can feel a little overwhelmed with energy. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I guarantee you, if you have been playing a lot of games or doing things that are kind of really like kind of pushing you out of reality. I know I have been literally playing on my phone more than I have on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, and just like scrolling through things. Almost like literally I was doing it the other day and I was like, I've been on here for like a freaking hour. Like, and I haven't seen anything good or anything that's made my life better or changed anything. I'm just that's that's Neptune. That's Neptune's energy. So that's the best way to put it. Neptune's energy is all about like get into the illusion and find that energy. And so this is kind of one of those like crazy ones. The best way to get out of that energy is to ground your energy. Now, everybody grounds a little bit differently. Some people really need to ground a whole bunch. Some people need to ground less. But if you're kind of feeling in that, like I've been in like the delusional state for a while or kind of been zoned out for a while, you probably need to ground in some way. Now, there's a couple of different ways to ground. You can literally go barefoot on Mother Earth and kind of put your feet in the ground or in the grass and kind of just like take several deep breaths. You can hug a tree. I tell people, like, if you're not the type of person that should be grounding all the time, that's really important to know. So that would be something I would ground more into a tree, because the tree is kind of the combination between the air, the earth, and the midworld. So does that make sense? Like, it's a little bit easier on us. But if you're kind of one of those, like, if you're an earth sign, or you really are addicted to like earth, I love being out on the earth, I love putting my hands in it, then definitely get in the dirt, the soil, put your hands in your feet, all that kind of stuff, and really ground into that energy. That is going to make it a little bit easier and help you kind of pull out of this delusional state for a period of time. Literally, I was talking to a client the other day, and she was saying like her son had been playing like video games for like 8 hours straight, literally hadn't done anything else. And I was like, he's in that state. So I was like, get him out, go for a walk, get him out in nature, and literally make sure that he is touching the trees, the plants, the flowers, all that kind of stuff. Like, that's going to make life so much easier. When you are in that delusional state, it's one of those, it can really drive you a little bit like bonker crazy, because that is like, I'm not really here. I'm not really taking accountability of what's doing. I'm just like literally almost in a coma. I'm like, I'm not really here. Well, that's the best way to do it. Kind of the next one that's really affecting a lot of people, and I have had so many computer issues the last week or so. It's been crazy. Literally, just trying to get my newsletter out on the 15th or the 16th was crazy energy. Like, oh my goodness, this is like crazy. My computer kept shutting down. My anti theft software, whatever it was having issues, all kinds of stuff. My phone kept resetting itself. And I got to the point where I was like, oh, I had to take a break. The best thing to do with Mercury in retrograde in the sign of Sagittarius right now is really putting challenges of our communication and really making us think, is this the best way to communicate with this person? It's a really great way to kind of think about that. Are you communicating with this person in the best way? Because there's a million different ways to connect to people. You can call them, you can text them, you can email them, you can all kinds of different ways. Am I communicating with the person I want to talk to right now in the best way possible? It's a really interesting way to think about things. So when challenges come up, think about like, how would it be better to communicate? How would it be better to communicate not only with that person or other people, or is it I'm dealing with a whole bunch of people and I want to be the best person to communicate, or what do I need to say to them? Because that's the really important part. Now, one of the things that can be interesting with all of this is, how are you communicating, or who are you talking to? And really think about, who am I talking to? What do I need to say? And what is the simplest, easiest way I can communicate that information to these people? Now, if you're sending one email to one person, not so bad. That's kind of easy. But if you're sending emails to, thank you, Charlie, for all the hearts. If you're sending an email to a group of people, this is something to really keep in mind. Like, what do I need what is the information I need to transfer from me to them? What is that basically? And look at like, what is it, how to communicate it, how to take care of it. Now, I'm going to give you a secret that I don't often tell people is literally be as connected to that information as you possibly can. Like, instead of saying the facts are, you could say the facts I have found, or the information that I have found makes it much more plausible and really a greater way to say it, because you can say, I didn't find that information. You asked me to look up when trash day is, and I didn't find that information. What I found was blah, blah, blah. Makes life so much easier. Kind of like, yes, clearing the code. Like, I didn't miscommunicate. I found this, and this is what I chose to communicate. Think about the person that is the one that you really want to read the information. Who is the top dog? Who is the person that you're like, I want to make sure that the boss person sees this. You want to communicate with them more directly, or in a way that you would talk to them directly. If you would talk to your coworker and be like more sassy or whatever else, like, that's not the time. If whoever is the top person on that email, that's how you want that email to come across. So just know that that's kind of some interesting energies for us. Now, that being said, If you have an angel question, I've got my angel cards. I will answer a question. You can just ask for an angel card, and I can give you that information. Or if you have a direct question about something, I can do that as well on both platforms because I'm on TikTok and on YouTube at the same time, which is kind of really fun. I will say probably that the next big thing that's going to be affecting us a lot is not necessarily our full moon in Gemini, but the next, I would say, there's a couple of, sorry, um, is Venus trining Jupiter. Now, I'm doing a class on this. I'm doing a workshop on this next week. So, if you're interested in finding out more, this is a really great alignment, bringing in joy, abundance, and connectiveness together to really bring in great relationships, focusing on personal growth. That is a great one to come into. So, if you're interested in that, you can go to my website at www.ruththeresa.com/events if you're interested in finding out that information. Probably the next one after that that we're really going to be dealing with a lot of crazy energy is our winter solstice. This is really marks a very high energy connective day, and it goes from Sagittarius into Capricorn, and that is going to bring in more focus, more discipline, more responsibility, long-term planning, and really kind of give us a great insight into kind of getting us ready for 2025's energy. Now, I've already been shooting 2025 videos already. They'll be coming out as we get closer to the holidays and moving into January. And then I've got my New Year, New You group reading here in Sugarland, because it's one of those, this is something I've done every year, and I've done this for probably like 11 years now. New year, new you. I do an angel card reading I do one for every month of the year. And then I personally give everybody an angel message from your angels and guides. And then I open up the floor to everybody there, and they can ask me whatever they want, which is kind of totally fun and experience because you're going to have people asking about, like, I want to get a message from my grandfather that passed, or I want a message from my mom that's done this, or I want a message for this, or I want to know what's coming up next for me in 2025. That is a great way to know what is coming in at you for 2025 on a personal basis. Now, I do have people that just literally will book me for an hour and do a private reading where we go through everything for 2025. So I've had that a lot because it's just one of those, like, it's such amazing information to know in advance what is going to affect you, how it is going to affect you, and what kind of, like, how to kind of work your way in and around the information. That's kind of an interesting one because a lot of people don't always kind of connect into that energy as easily or as well. So that's kind of the interesting information. And so Sherry on YouTube is asking, my husband died about a year and a half ago. We were in a horrible car crash where the car rolled over 3 times. He wasn't wearing a seatbelt and I was. He was ejected and died almost instantly. But that's not really a question. Okay. Is he around you? His name is Dwayne. He is, Sherry. He's around you all the time. Um, I feel like when I'm connecting with his energy, I feel it like almost like hugging you. And I feel like it's in a weird way. So he was probably like a very awkward hugger person because I don't feel it around your, you know what I'm saying, up here. I literally feel it right above my elbow. So maybe he picked you up a lot or something like that. In a weird way, I'm like, okay, that's interesting because he's like grabbing me from behind and like lifting me up kind of thing. So he is in and around you all the time. He sends you messages a lot. He kind of gets frustrated because he feels like you're not always hearing him or hearing everything that he's telling you. So there's like a disconnect in that area. So just so you know, Sherry, he is around and he does hear. He does listen. He does. He really does. But I will tell you kind of one of the interesting energies with ghost energy is they're not always around us 100% of the time because I almost call them like my big popcorn. They will pop into different areas. So he also may be going, yes, that's the way he held me. Yes. I tell you, you're very welcome, Sherry. I just thought it was kind of like odd. I was like, this is kind of an interesting one because most of the time it's up here and it's not on your arms. But I will say he's also most ghosts are their friends and their family, the ones they're closest to, not the ones furthest away from them. So, like, if mom and dad are still alive, brothers and sisters, and they kind of just check in on everybody to kind of see how everybody's doing and kind of like checking into that energy. That is an amazing way that they do it. Now, they're usually with one person more than others. Where's the little boy, Sherry? Where's the little boy? He's asking me where the little boy is. There's a new boy in the family, or he's asking me where the little boy is. So I'm like, okay, I'm asking the question. I'm not afraid to ask questions. I get all kinds of crazy questions. I was doing a couple of videos on that earlier about mermaids, dolphins, Atlantis. What was the other one? Your son? Yeah, he's around your son a lot. Him and your son used to laugh a lot and had like either Dwayne does or your son does have like a very, he says, wicked laugh. Someone has a very wicked laugh. He's saying it, those exact words, a very wicked laugh. So I don't know if Dwayne had it or your son has it. Like, I don't know who has it. That's the only boy in the family. He just kept asking where the boy was. And I was like, okay. But one of the things that's really interesting with the kind of the planetary stuff, unless you have another question, Sure, we'll keep going. You think it was Dwayne? I just kind of, he's telling like wicked laugh, and I'm like, okay, I may not have described it that way, but that's what he say. Those are the words he say. I say those words. I'm really good at that. Now, one of the other interesting ones is that with Neptune in retrograde, a lot of times we feel like it is, oh no, your son is actually December is probably the highest months that I deal with suicides a lot. And a lot of times it's super sad. Um, he's like upset about your son, but it's like he's very ups, you know what I'm saying? It's like they're upset, especially at the holidays, because it's like they're missing people from the other side more than anything else. And so it's kind of like it's a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And I will tell you, every person I've ever talked to that's committed suicide that's on the other side has told me, like, literally, don't do it. Like, it's not worth it. It is so not worth it. I had a client's brother commit suicide 3 weeks ago. I'll say like a week or so before Thanksgiving. And they were the same way. As soon as I connected with him, he was like, I am so sorry. I'm like so sorry that I did this. It's one of those, like, universally, that's the first thing they come across with. Like, I am so sorry that I did this. And they come through with so much remorse. Like, why did I do this? Why did I feel like this was the only answer? Why did I feel it? And I'm like, I don't know. Um, um, uh, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not sure why what they're thinking is, but a lot of times, like, that's kind of the interesting part about another planetary alignment that literally happened in the middle of November. Is Pluto moved into the sign of Sagittarius. Hi, Miss Kathy. And that is all. Pluto is like the planet of like things that we want to put in the closet, like that middle school picture of you that you didn't look so cute at, the things that you said that you did wrong, or the things that you're kind of like, I don't want to fix this or change this or whatever it is. So that's kind of one of those like interesting ones. But one of the things that's really interesting is with Pluto, our planet of like leave things in the underworld kind of thing, and our planet, our sign of Aquarius is all about bringing out the truth in some very funky, crazy ways. So it's kind of like, like, this is interesting. And you're going to see that more and more of things that people would normally like pass off. You're going to see more and more people talking about like aliens. You're going to see more and more people talking about like mermaids and fairies and stuff like that. You're going to see this more and more because the truth can't be like pushed down anymore because of this planetary alignment. And I guarantee you that is also going to be affecting people that want to commit suicide, because they're going to see like, this is something I don't want to come out, but the truth is I want to live through this. Because so many times, like, it's a temporary problem, and I don't mean it like trying to put it simply, I'm just trying to make it like explain it as the best I can, is that a lot of times they get so caught up in the energy of right now, they're not thinking ahead of time. They're not thinking what's coming up next, or how can I do this, or how can I change this. This is something that I've dealt with. I also deal with a lot of soldiers that also go through battles with suicide a lot. So this is one of those, like, it's literally a battlefield of stay here or leave. And it's really, really hard. This is something that it's a very hard decision to make, because I will say in most past lives, at least two or three times, we have committed suicide. It's one of those, or our own stupidity has caused our passing. But a lot of times when we do it and it's not intentional, we can come right back. But when it's intentional, we have a lot of work on the other side. That is the weird part. That's the kind of the interesting part kind of thing. But I will tell you, Pluto in Aquarius is something that's going to be affecting us for probably the next 19 or 20 years, something like that. It is a long one. Um, mm, that's very sad. Maybe that's the wicked part that he was talking about. Maybe that's the wicked part, that he's like maybe he like that's I best maybe I'm trying to make sense of it. Is like maybe that's what Dwayne was saying. Like he was didn't realize that he was hurting him so much. He thought it was funny, but he didn't realize that how bad it was, how bad that energy was. I literally grew up in a childhood where I was verbally abused a lot. And so it's one of those, like, those are voices that keep ringing through your head over and over and over again. They can be really hard because a lot of times, no matter what, like those voices come back to us, almost like, I remember my dad telling us one time, don't play in the middle of the street, play in the middle of the highway. It was one of those like joking things. And my family still laughs about that to this day. There's a lot of things that we say that we don't necessarily like think through before we open our mouth, and it's like, wait, hold on a second, why am I saying this? So a lot of times, like, they are talking about that energy. They're talking about like that energy that could be okay or should be okay or dealt with in a different way. It's one of those, like, that's all they know. It's kind of like we are children of broken people. I guarantee you there's not one parent that hasn't messed up on something, because I've never met them. I'm not a perfect parent in any way, shape, or form. I try my best every day. But I will tell you, there are a lot of people that are really, really, really broken, and they still choose to bring in children, and they're bringing in very broken children in some very interesting ways that are very, very harsh. And they think, like maybe like Dwayne, like, oh, it's my sense of humor. I'm just being this way. And they don't think of it as like you're tearing this child down. One of the things that was explained to me when many years ago is like sarcasm. If you literally break up the word into the bits of it, literally it's called ripping and tearing of the flesh. You know what I'm saying? And so that's kind of like that's all they know. But that's what Sherry's saying is like Dwayne was an abused child. So that's like if that's all they know of how to share love is being abusive, then that's all they know. It's one of those, and sometimes there's choices that you can make differently or should make differently. That's kind of the hard part, because you kind of go back to what was your imprinting? How did my parents deal with me? And that can be very difficult and very harsh at times. It's one of those, a lot of times growing up, there were times that my parents would say something to me and I was like, man, that just like ripped me, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh my gosh, this was so harsh to hear. But then as an adult, I kind of realized they were probably had gone through that as a child as well, or that's the way they felt at times. So it's kind of like almost like, I don't know how to deal with this, so I'm going to do it to you, and maybe you can deal with it differently, or maybe you can give me some type of understanding of how to deal with this better, because we are all broken children of broken children. That's the sad part. And a lot of times, if we don't work on it, we will keep bringing in more and more broken children. I think I know that's one of the reasons why, for myself, I started getting help for me as early as I could figure out that I really needed help. I literally was like, I need to find a therapist or someone to talk to. And we're talking like many, many years ago. And finding the right person meant the world to me. Finding the right person that could help me remember what I needed to remember, work through what I needed to work through is all that kind of stuff. And that is all kind of Pluto related. That's all Pluto, all the stuff that we want to leave in the past, that they wanted to leave in the past, because I guarantee you almost every abusive family has that. I call it, I did a video on this a couple of weeks ago. Literally I called it the happy family game. The happy family game. It's like on the outside, we're going to look like everything is happy and joyful, and mom is perfect and dad is great and brother and sister are perfect and everybody's doing their best and everybody's kind of doing this kind of stuff. But when that front door closes, all of the masks come off and all the abuse comes out. It's like, but on the outside, oh my gosh, they're the best family ever. Oh, they're the greatest people ever. And it's like, yeah, you didn't grow up in my household. You didn't live behind my front door. My front door was really abusive and it was really harsh to live in. So just so you know, that's kind of a interesting, like, oh my gosh, how do we deal with this? It doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it good or anything else. It just makes it understandable. But that's kind of the harsh part, is one of those like, how do we want to bring this energy in and how do we want to fix it? There were a lot of things growing up for me that my parents did to me. And I literally, when it was being done to me, I was literally in my head going, I will never do that to my kids. I will never do that to my kids. I was talking to one of my siblings we're talking like 10 or 15 years ago, and their child that was with them was like giving them a hard time in the store. I want this, I want this, I want this. They were little. And she got off the phone or put the phone on hold, and she was like, hold on a second, and told her child, like, if you don't behave, I'm going to spank you right here in the store. And and I was like, are you okay? And she goes, I'm just so frustrated and so mad. And she goes, this is and I was like, I never spank my children when I'm mad. And she goes, oh, I only spank my children when I'm mad. I was like, that is a commitment that I gave to myself. I am not going to spank my children or punish them. If they did something wrong, then I can punish them in a few hours when I'm not angry, when I'm not mad, when I'm not upset. And that gave me like amazing, amazing insight into things of like, how mad am I really? It's one of those, that is an amazing insight, but it's one of those, it takes a lot of energy to do that, to go, I'm not going to react the way I thought my parents did. I'm going to react differently. I'm going to react completely differently and deal with life in a different way. And it can be very hard, but it can be also really amazing. Like I said, I've been on my journey of healing for many, many years, probably since I was like 22 or 23. And I'm still on that journey. I'm not finished. I'm still working that same journey. I'm still kind of like working things, um, getting things better, working on my communication. I didn't grow up in a family of a lot of communication or how to communicate clearly with people, and a lot of abuse, a lot of different types of abuse. Verbal abuse, I think, was some of the hardest, but it's one of those, it can be really, really crazy, harsh energy for us to deal with. And that's what we end up dealing with. But a lot of times, like when we make that commitment, and I've broken those commitments to myself, and then I'm reconnecting to this. I am reaffirming this commitment to myself that I'm not going to do this. And that is exactly the best way to do it. It's one of those, we all falter. If not, you don't belong on earth. It's kind of like, if you're not making mistakes, you don't belong here. So when you make a mistake, that makes it easier to kind of make a correction. And that's a lot of times what I do is, if something goes wrong, I will literally say, I'm sorry, apologize. I will correct that information. And then I will kind of go into myself and like, what is the new commitment to myself? Because that's really the best way to apologize if you didn't know that. A lot of people go, when you're kids, it's like, apologize for this. Yeah, it still can be really harsh. But actually, when you apologize or say you're sorry, you shouldn't say you're sorry. The best energy way to say it is, I apologize to you, and then state what you did wrong. And then on top of that, recommit or make a new commitment to that person. If something Oh, what did I do the other day? Oh, I kicked someone's foot under the table. I accidentally kicked someone's foot underneath the table. Didn't mean to, probably hurt a little bit. And I went to immediately, I apologize for kicking your foot under the table. My new commitment to you is I will be as cautious as possible when everybody's sitting around the table with everybody's feet there. So that was my new commitment to not only them, but to everybody else, because who wants to have their ankle kicked while they're under the table? It hurts. It really hurts. So that's the best way to learn how to apologize. And it really makes it energetically when you apologize like that, literally it can change your energy of like, wow, wow. And I will say most people carry a lot of abuse with them, and literally not necessarily apologizing to that person, apologize to yourself, because a lot of us carry a lot of old, icky, yucky, nasty, gross energy with us from what people said to us in the past, how people treated us in the past, how we dealt with things, and we literally bring that into every relationship we're in, every commitment that we're in with anybody else. And it's one of those like we should apologize to ourselves, because it's like that person said something mean to us once. How many times have we repeated that to ourselves? Like you're way meaner to yourself than that person ever was. Seriously crazy. It's one of those, I will say that is kind of one of those interesting ones. Like I said, I had parents that said some really mean things, but I would say stuff like literally I will hear my mom's voice in my head or coming out of my mouth and I'm like, yikes, I don't want that. So I have to make a recommitment to myself and apologize to myself of using only the highest energy words and communication when I talk to myself and when I talk to others, because that is the really the cool, interesting part of this. And all of this is, like I said, this is all because of Pluto in retrograde in the sign of Aquarius. So it's kind of, or Pluto in retrograde, Pluto in Aquarius is all of this truth coming out, all of this truth coming around, all of this truth being spoken. And like I said, you're going to see this all over the news, the internet over the next, what is it, 20 something years. You're going to see truth coming out. I guarantee we will probably figure out who killed JFK. I already know who killed JFK, but the truth will come out. Did we really land on the moon? I get asked that one a lot. What about mermaids, dolphins? um, Atlantis. What was some of the other one? I got some really interesting ones the other day. Questions. The Yeti, the Bigfoot, um, all of that truth is going to be coming out. Aliens is going to be a big one for a while, but all of that truth coming up over and over and over again. And that is going to be an amazing energy. And it's going to be an amazing thing for us to work through and kind of get all of those answers out and about. And I think as we get ready for the energy of 2025 coming in, there's going to be a lot more things coming to a close. 2025 is a 9 year, is all about letting go and opening up to the new. So we're going to see that more and more of people like letting go of the old and bringing in the new for us. So that's kind of the interesting one. Sherry, I would love to get an appointment with you or your son if you're really interested in that. I think Dwayne is kind of asking for that to happen. But it's up to you. You can find my information and you can reach out to me at any time. But it's past my bedtime almost. It's time to go to bed. I thank y'all so much. If y'all have a question as we kind of like bring it to a close, I know Miss Kathy did not ask a question. She normally asks a question every time she's on. And then on TikTok, which is really interesting, normally I have a whole bunch of people on. I don't have anybody. I'm like, okay, here we go. So that's the way it goes. Um, so what is all this going on with why I'm feeling so disconnected? Probably the disconnected part is probably, you'll have to go back and listen to the beginning of this, is probably a lot to do with Neptune, that there's some angel messages that you didn't quite get. Now, Neptune goes out of full retrograde on the 7th in about 2 more days. But Neptune is a great way for us to kind of bring in information from the other side. So it's kind of like that's our way that we kind of get our information. Thank you, Sherry. Um, that's kind of the way we get our information from the other side really easily. A lot of people have like really amazing dreams. And so that's kind of what we're dealing with. But with it coming out of full retrograde and going into post shadow energy on the 7th, a lot of people are kind of feeling that disconnect, like maybe I didn't get all of the information. Maybe I didn't get all the downloads. Is there one last thing that I can grab or take hold of to kind of bring this amazing energy in? So a lot of people are asking those questions now. That is going to be an amazing energy for us. So yes, definitely. Definitely. I thank y'all so much. I should be on next week. I have no idea when anything is. My world has been crazy. Like I said, I've been dealing with throat stuff, so I've been clearing out my communication and getting a lot of energy in there. So I'm really thankful about that. But if y'all have any questions, please reach out to me. Y'all have an amazing week and a great weekend, and I will see you on the other side. Y'all have a great one. Thank you, Miss Kathy. Thank you, Miss Kathy.